Hey guys, welcome back. We are gonna be hopefully finishing the Codex, for a while anyhow. I have my list in front of me of what still needs to be done, reading wise. So let's hop right into this. First up, we have Humanity and the Systems Alliance, Genetic Engineering. In the 22nd century, manipulation of the human genome became commonplace. Techniques of genetic engineering advanced to the point where the rich could custom build fetuses that grew into stronger, smarter, and more attractive adults. In more permissive regions, custom designed life forms and uplifted animals occupied an ill-defined niche between property and sapient being. Travel to planets with unique forms of life brought an awareness that Earth's unique biodiversity could be lost if spliced with if spliced and hybridized to gain useful alien qualities. I'm not gonna pronounce this right. Sudom Wolcott Genetic Heritage Act was passed by the Systems Alliance Parliament in 2161. It imposed sharp restrictions on controversial uses of genetic engineering, but provided government subsidies for beneficial applications. Screening and therapy. Most governments provide free assessments and corrective therapy for genetic diseases in prospective parents. This has nearly eliminated everything from cystic fibrosis to nearsightedness. The earlier screening and therapy is performed and more comprehensive the results. Though ideally performed on artificially fertilized zygotes in a lab, procedures are available for embryos in the womb and newborns out of respect for personal beliefs. Improvement of natural human abilities is legal, but adding new abilities is not. Treatments to improve strength, reflexes, mental acuity, or appearance are permitted. Adding a tail or the ability to digest cellulose is not. Some genetic enhancement is provided for free to Alliance military recruits, but the average citizen must pay for the privilege. The process can take years to reach fruition in an adult. Engineering. Artificial hybridization of genes from compatible non-human species with human genetic code is illegal. Creation of designed life is broadly legal and mainly used for terraforming and medical applications, but sentient creatures are heavily regulated, and creation of sapient life is outlawed by both the Systems Alliance and the Citadel Council. Okay, that one's down. Let's move to human diplomatic relations. Humanity has encountered many galactic species. Wars have been few, but mistrust is rife. Politically, the alliance is a a peaceful trade partner of the Turians as a practical matter. However, there is simmering antagonism and bigotry between both the populations over the First Contact War of 2157. The Alliance enjoys good relations with the Asari, though many privately believe the matriarchs are aristocratic and overcautious. Though uh, uh, though humans know better than to unconditionally trust the Solarian, their shared reckless ways make them natural allies against the conservative Turians and Asari. The Krogan have no unified government, but individuals are generally treated as potential criminals, a reputation most Krogan enjoy living down to. The Alliance has no formal contact with the Quarians. Their migrant fleet has not yet passed through human-settled systems. The Batarians are rivals for control of the Skillian Verge. They severed their treaties with the Citadel to prosecute a colonial conflict against the Alliance. Officially, there is no war, but neither is there any peace. Okay, that one's done. We're heading down to Systems Alliance geological survey. As you can tell, I still can't get words out in a cohesive way. As the human race expands its territory and raises the general standard of living, demand for industrial resources continues to grow. Many planets, moons, and asteroids contain a wealth of resources, but many systems have barely been charted. Have barely been charted, let alone thoroughly surveyed. Unmanned probes are one solution, but they are often lost to space hazards, unforeseen circumstances, or left by salvagers. In recent years, AGES, the Alliance Geological Service, has offered bounties to provide individuals or teams willing to perform mineralogical surveys on the frontier. This survey data is made publicly available to further corporate development. Due to the cost of travel and the dangers of operating on hostile worlds, it is rarely a profitable endeavor. Light metals. Metals with low atomic weight are often used in the construction of spacecraft and vehicles. Heavy metals. Metals with higher atomic weights are used to construct equipment components. The platinum group elements are particularly useful. Rare earths. Most useful materials in the category are radioactives or magnets. Gases. Various gases are required to support all known forms of sapient life. Some are commonly used as fuel. Okay, that's that one out the way. Next is Systems Alliance military ranks. I thought we already did this one, but we're doing it now, so. The Alliance uses a modified version of the ranking system that has been used for hundreds of years. Soldiers are classified into rank-and-file enlisted personnel, experienced non-commissioned officers or NCOs, and specially trained officers. The divide between naval personnel and ground forces, or Marines, is small. Ground units are a specialized branch of the fleet, just as fighter squadrons are. This unity of command is imposed by the futility of fighting without control of orbit. Without the Navy, any army is pointless. The Marines, as a matter of pride, maintain some of their traditional rank titles. For example, Marines have privates and corporals instead of servicemen. In ascending order of responsibility, the ranks of the Alliance are, and I believe this is going from bottom to top, enlisted, serviceman 3rd class, or private 2nd class. I would assume the left side here would be, what I'm reading first, would be for the Navy, and the right side is for the Marines. Serviceman 2nd class or private 1st class, serviceman 1st class or corporal. NCOs, we have service chief, gunnery chief, operations chief. Officers: 2nd lieutenant, 1st lieutenant, staff lieutenant, lieutenant commander, staff commander, captain or major, rear admiral or general, admiral, fleet admiral. Okay, that one's done. We have the Terra Firma party. Terra Firma is an alliance political party formed after the First Contact War. Its policy agenda is based on the principle that Earth must stand firm against alien influences. This covers a variety of legislation. Recent activities by Terra Firma include opposition to a law requiring high school alien language study, a proposal to increase tariffs on alien imports, and leading a popular movement to mark the First Contact War with a public holiday. Though founded by well-meaning individuals who feared the submersion of native human cultures under a wave of alien... I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'll probably pronounce it wrong. Vogue. Terra Firma's agenda attracts many... I don't know how to pronounce this word either, so once again I'll probably pronounce it wrong. Jinguists and xenophobes. Okay, we've already done the next one, so we're gonna go to... Where are we gonna go to? Ships and vehicles. FTL drive appearance. New space travelers ask, what does it look like outside a ship moving at faster than light speed? Part of the answer can be seen in a simple pane of glass. Light travels slower through glass than it does through open air. Light also moves slower in conventional space than it does in a high-speed mass effect field. This causes refraction. Any light entering at an angle is bent and separated into a spectrum. Objects outside the ship will appear refracted. The greater the difference between the objective, which would be the exterior, and subjective, the interior, speeds of light, the greater the refraction. As the subjective speed of light is raised within the field, objects outside will appear to redshift, eventually becoming visible only to radio telescope antenna. High-energy electromagnetic sources, normally hidden to the eye, become visible in the high blue spectrum. As the speed of light continues to be raised, X-ray, gamma ray, and eventually cosmic ray sources become visible. Stars will be replaced by pulsars and, I don't know how to pronounce this, accretion disks of black holes, quasars, and gamma ray bursts. To an outside observer, a ship within a mass effect drive envelope appears blue shifted. If within a field that allows travel at twice the speed of light, any radiation it emits has twice the energy as normal. If the ship is in a field of about 200 times light speed, it radiates visible light as X-rays and gamma rays, and the infrared heat from the hull is blue shifted up into the visible spectrum or higher. Ships moving at FTL are visible at great distances, though their signature will only propagate at the speed of light. Okay, so there's that one. Next is FTL drive charge. As positive or negative electric current is passed through an FTL drive core, it acquires a static electrical charge. Drives can be operated an average of 50 hours before they reach charge saturation. This change is proportional to the magnitude of mass reduction. A heavier or faster ship reaches saturation more quickly. If the charge is allowed to build, the core will discharge into the hull of a ship. And ungrounded crew members are fried to a crisp, and electronic systems are burned out, and metal bulkheads may be melted and fused together. The safest way to discharge a core is to land on a planet and establish a connection to the ground, like a lightning rod. Larger vessels like dreadnoughts cannot land and must discharge into a planetary magnetic field. The ship passes the charge from the drive core to the exterior armed hull, then dives into the magnetic field. As the hull discharges, sheets of lightning jump away from the field, creating beautiful auroral displays on the planet. The ship must retract its sensors and weapons while dumping charge to prevent damage, leaving it blind and helpless. Discharging at a moon with a weak magnetic field can take days. Discharging into the powerful field of a gas giant may require less than an hour. Deep space facilities such as the Citadel often have special discharge facilities for visiting ships. Okay, there's that one. Next is space combat endurance. Heat limits the length and intensity of ship-to-ship combat. Starships generate enormous heat when they fire high-energy weapons, perform maneuvering burns, and run on-board combat electronics. In combat, warships provide heat more quickly than they can disperse it. As heat builds within a vessel, the crewed spaces become increasingly uncomfortable. Before the heat reaches lethal levels, a ship must win or retreat by entering FTL. After an FTL run, the ship halts, shuts down non-essential systems, and activates the heat radiation gear. Combat endurance varies by ship design and by the battle's location. Battles in the deep cold of interstellar space can go for some time. Engagements close to a star are brief. Since habitable worlds are usually close to a star, battles over them are frantic. Okay, that one done. Next is space combat general tactics. Shells lofted by surface navies crash back to Earth when their acceleration is overwhelmed by gravity and air resistance. In space, a projectile has unlimited range. It will keep moving until it hits something. Practical gunnery range is determined by the velocity of the attacker's ordnance and the maneuverability of the target. Beyond a certain range, a small ship's ability to dodge trumps a large attacker's projectile speed. The longest ranged combat occurs between dreadnoughts, whose projectiles have the highest velocity but are the least maneuverable. The shortest range combat is between frigates, which have the slowest projectile velocities and highest maneuverability. Opposing dreadnoughts open with a main gun artillery duel at extreme ranges of tens of thousands of kilometers. The fleet's close, maintaining evasive lateral motion while keeping their bow guns facing the enemy. Fighters are launched and attempt to close the disruptor torpedo range. Cautious admirals weaken the enemy with ranged fire and and fighter strikes before committing to close combat. Aggressive commanders advance so cruisers and frigates can engage. At long range, the main guns of cruisers become useful. Friendly interceptors engage enemy fighters until the attackers enter the range of ship-based Guardian fire. Dreadnoughts fire from the rear. Screened by smaller ships, commanders must decide whether to commit to a general melee or retreat into FTL. At medium range, ships can use broadside guns. Fleets intermingle and it becomes difficult to retreat in order. Ships with damaged kinetic barriers are vulnerable to wolf pack frigate flotillas that speed through the battle space. Only fighters and frigates enter close knife fight ranges of 10 or fewer kilometers. Fighters lose their disruptor torpedoes, bringing down a ship's kinetic barriers and allowing it to be swarmed by frigates. I'm assuming that's supposed to say fighters let loose their disruptor torpedoes. Oh well. Where was I? Guardian lasers become viable weapons, swatting down fighters and boiling away warship armor. Neither dreadnoughts nor cruisers can use their main guns at close range. Laying the bow on a moving target becomes impossible. Superheated thruster exhaust becomes a hazard. Okay, that one's done. Next is starships crew considerations. Cabins give each individual 10 cubic meters of space. On larger vessels, private rooms are common. As ships get smaller, the number of crew packed into a single wardroom increases. Asari prefer shared spaces even on large vessels, while Krogan territorial instincts may make it impossible for them to cohabitate even on the smallest ships. On smaller vessels, not bunking is the norm. Crew members assigned to different watches share the same bunk. When one gets off duty, he wakes to the person in the bunk. While that crewman is on duty, the first gets his rack time. Spacecraft compartments can be isolated by airtight doors in case of decompression. The cinematic vision of explosive decompression is fiction. Hold compartments either take enough damage that occupants are killing instantly, or leak slowly enough that they are able to reach protective gear. Compartments are equipped with emergency life support apparatus, fireproof plastic bubbles with air bottles. Small ones stowed ELSA comfortably accommodate one individual inflated. Damage control procedure cuts off ventilation to burning compartments. Without oxygen to consume, fires die in seconds. The compartment is repressurized afterwards for crew recovery. Mass effect fields create an artificial gravity, agrav, plane below the decks, preventing muscle atrophy and bone loss in 0G. Large vessels arrange their decks perpendicular to their thrust axis. The highest decks are at the bow and the lowest at the engines. This allows agrav to work with the inertial effects of thrust. Ships that can land arrange their decks laterally, so the crew can move about while the vessel is on the ground. Warships normally turn off their agrav systems during combat, reducing the heat generated by systems and increasing combat endurance. To provide a point of reference for navigating in 0G, floors are painted a different color than from the walls and ceiling. Okay. We're getting close to the end of my list here. Starships. I can't read that. That's supposed to say heat management. I can't read my own handwriting, guys. Yeah, that says heat management. Starship's heat management is next. Dispersal of heat generated by onboard systems is a critical issue for a ship. If it cannot deal with heat, the crew may be cooked within the hull. Radiation is the only way to shed heat into a vacuum. Civilian vessels utilize large, fragile radiator panels that are impossible to armor. Warships use diffuse radiator arrays, DRA. Ceramic strips along the exterior of the armored hull. These make the ship appear striped to thermographic sensors. Since the arrangement of the ships depends on the internal configuration of the ship, the patterns for each vessel are unique and striking. On older ships, the DRA strips could become red or white hot, dubbed tiger stripes or war paint by humans. The glowing DRA had a psychological impact on pirates and irregular forces. Strip radiators are not as effective as panels, but if damaged by enemy fire, the ship only loses a small portion of its total radiation capacity. In most cases, a vessel's DRA alone allows it to cruise with no difficulties. Operations deep within the solar system can cause problems. A ship engaged in combat can produce titanic amounts of heat from maneuvering burns and weapons fire. When fighting in a high heat environment, warships employ high high efficiency droplet heat sinks. In a droplet system, tanks of liquid sodium or lithium absorb heat within the ship. The liquid is vented from sorry. The liquid is vented from spray nozzles near the bow and as a thin sheet of millions of micrometer scale droplets. The droplets are caught at the stern and recycled into the system. A droplet system can sink 10 to 100 times as much heat as DRA strips. Droplet sheets resemble a surface ship's wake through the water. The wake peels out in sharp turns, spreading a fan of droplets as the ship changes vectors and leaves the coolant behind. Okay, that one is down. We only have one more, and it's Weapons Guardian. A ship's General Area Defense Integration Anti-Spacecraft Network, or Guardian for short, consists of anti-missile, anti-fighter laser turrets on the exterior hull. Because these are under computer control, the gunnery control officer needs to do little beyond turn the system on and designate targets as hostile. Since lasers move at light speed, they cannot be dodged by anything moving at non-relativistic speeds. Unless the beam is aimed poorly, it will always hit its target. In the early stages of a battle, the Guardian fire is 100% accurate. It is not 100% lethal, but it doesn't have to be. Damaged fighters must break off for repairs. Lasers are limited by diffraction. The beam spreads out, decreasing the energy density, watts per... I want to say the M stands for minute, and the 2 stands for squared, or maybe it's just watts per M2, in which case what they mean I have no idea. The weapon can place on a target. Any high-powered laser is a short-ranged weapon. Guardian networks have another limitation: heat. Weapons-grade lasers require cooldown time, during which heat is transferred to sinks or radiators. As lasers fire, heat builds within them, reducing damage, range, and accuracy. Okay, stop jumping around on me. Fighters attack in swarms. The first few will be hit by Guardian. But as battle continues, the effects of laser overheat allow the attackers to press ever closer to the ship. Constant use will burn out a laser. Guardian lasers typically operate in infrared frequencies. Shorter frequencies would offer superior stopping power and range, but degradation of local arrays and mirrors would make them expensive to maintain, and most prefer mechanical reliability over bleeding edge performance, where lives where lives are concerned. Solarians, however, use near ultraviolet frequency lasers with 6 times the range, believing that having additional time to shoot down incoming missiles is more important. Lasers are not blocked by the kinetic barriers of capital ships. However, the range of lasers limits their use to rare knife fight range ship-to-ship combat. And like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally caught up on the Codex. I should have got us caught up much sooner than I did, but I didn't, and now we're caught back up. My next video, I don't know when it'll be, but I am gonna be probably doing more side missions in it, or another side mission in it. Irregardless, I don't think side missions actually add anything to the Codex. I mean, some might, but the majority of them I don't think do. In any case, if you liked the video, click the like button. Disliked it, dislike button. You can subscribe if you feel inclined to do so. If you do subscribe, click the bell to stay notified on new videos that I release. Share this with really whoever you want to. There's really no reason for me to give you specifics on who to share this with. Is there anything else? No, I think that's all my bases covered. I'll see you all in the next one then.